Hi, it's Aaron for the Mind Body Project. Welcome back. Thanks for following, thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing. Today we're going to talk about negative emotions and decision making. And I've always told you, and I've always explained in multiple videos, that when it comes to negative emotions, or when it comes to decision making, you need to make sure that you are in a good state before you actually make your decisions, because as a consequence you will make bad decisions. When you're in a really good state or a high performance state, then you're going to make better decisions. So what I'm going to do is just show you on this and then give you some training essentially on how to deal with negative emotions, or what activities are going to make you feel worse and what activities are going to make you feel better. So I'm going to go into that and the process of that. So let's just look. So this is your brain. Yeah, I'm not the best at drawing yet. I could be though. But that's your brain. And you've got some different emotions here that you're capable of. So up here you've got anger, you've got depressed, you've got phobia or phobic response, you've got happiness, you've got a meditative state, and you've got high performance state. So what happens is when you're in a certain state, let's say anger, you only have access to certain behaviors. So a few things here may be going off, and that's anger. So you can only make certain decisions when you're in that state. And the more angry you are, or the higher the emotion is, the less you think about consequences. Yes, the more emotional you are, the higher brainwave state you're in, and therefore the less your brain is actually working. So the more emotional you are, the less your brain is working. Yeah, which limits the amount of decisions that you can make. Because when you're angry, what do you decide? You're going to start to hit someone, hit something, smash something, or scream or shout at someone. That's essentially your behaviors. You're not going to, at the same time, when you're angry, you don't have access to then sitting there and being calm. You can't do them both at the same time. That's not a decision that you can make. So you've got to understand that when you're in that state, you only have access to certain behaviors. You're very, very limited. That is why you do not want to make decisions in that state. And the same for depressed. So depression. So I've just finished recording the Overcoming Depression for Good course, and that'll be out in a couple of weeks. And that'll be for those who I'm going to be doing some live training to help people with depression. Just look out for that. The details are coming very soon. But depression, when you're in that state, again, you've only got limited behaviors again, or limited decisions that you can actually make. Yeah, you're not going to be happy when you're depressed. You can't do both of them at the same time. What are the decisions that you're going to make? You're going to probably be, hey, I don't want to mix around with people. I'm not going to be very sociable when I'm depressed. Yeah, so you only have certain access to certain behaviors when you're in that state. Yeah, so in other words, you're very limited. So you do not want to make decisions whilst you're only using a teeny part of your brain. You're using everything. Yeah, because otherwise you make bad decisions. Yeah, when you're in that state. So you're only using a very, very small part of your brain. And with depression as well, with the brain, a depressed brain is an inflamed brain, and it shrinks down as well. It causes issues anyway. So your decision making is going to be impaired by being in that state. So you do not want to make decisions whilst in that state. The same with a phobic. Well, a phobic response is literally one decision or a reaction. There isn't any real decisions to make. It's just a reaction. It's just spider, run through the wall, jump out the window. Yeah, beat people up to get out of the way. You scream and get out of there. That's your one decision that you make when you're in that state, a phobic response. So you're going to understand it. So that is extremely limited. At all the decisions and all the things that your brain is capable of, all the billions of connections, all the stuff that you could creatively do, you're making one decision because you're in that state. Yeah, that's what you're going to do. Happiness. Well, you've got, when you're in that state, you can do probably a little bit more when you're in that state. But what's going to happen with your decision making is that you're going to make better decision making because you're in a better state. Because you're in that state, you're going to make more decisions that are probably going to make you happy or other people happy. Yeah, when you're in a depressed state, you're making bad decisions, you're going to make you feel worse, and especially if you take action on those things, and you're going to make you feel worse or other people feel worse. Anger. If you take actions, they're probably going to be negative in consequences. But happy, they're probably going to be positive in consequences. Yeah, so you want to do more, you're more interactive. Now you have capability of being interactive with people. Yeah, now you want to socialize. You have that ability, you can do that now that you're in that state. Yeah, when you're in these states, these negative states, you haven't got the ability, the neurons ain't going to fire. You can't do them at the same time. So you've got to understand that if you're in a negative state, then the first thing you need to do is get to a positive state, which we're going to come on to. Meditative state. Now, what I said about the brain waves. When you're in this state, meditative state, you're in alpha or theta state. So you actually have a lot more access of what you can do with the brain. Now you can do things very differently, because on average people will experience about 12 emotions a year. Yes, about 97% of the population will experience about 12 emotions in a year, and that's it. Now when you're in this state, the meditative state, then now you have access to things outside of those 12 because you can do way more than that, and that's what design human engineering does. But when you're in this state, now you have access to a lot of other different things. Yeah, you have more control. When you lower your brain waves by getting into these lowered states, by alpha states and relaxation states, when you're in those states, you have more control over your mind and body. The other thing is as well, you have mind-body connection. So you have a lot more control over your brain and your body systems now. And high performance state. So the high performance state, which is where the NLP New Code games take you. So the games that I've created, you've seen the courses that I've done. This allows basically everything. So the high performance state is a know everything, know nothing state. So it's a high performance. This is where you're in a state where one of the games that we played Gem Ball, which is one of the games that I created with someone else. And as we were testing what we were using initially were 5 balls. Now Gem Ball, we wanted everyone to play it, so we altered the game and changed it so everyone could play the game, because it's a really enjoyable game and you get into really good states. But when we played Gem Ball and got into a high performance state, the world literally went white. I couldn't see anything. He couldn't see anything. And we were still playing the game. We were still throwing the balls up in the air and still catching them. Our brains went into such an altered state that there was no limitations. Because it was really weird to explain, but there was no limitations. So that's a high performance state, and that's what the NLP New Code games aim to do, because you don't want any limitations. So that it raises all of this. And then when you make decisions in that state, then essentially what's happening now is your unconscious mind is making the decisions. So your unconscious mind already knows what to do. That's why you have bad feelings or gut feelings or any type of feelings. That's your unconscious mind communicating with you. But when you're in this state and you set it up right, then you can have it so that your unconscious mind is making the decisions because it knows what to do. And you're trusting your unconscious mind to make those decisions, which is essentially what you want to be doing. The more time you can be in a high performance state, then you're going to find things improving. And the more times you find yourself in a meditative state where you're using more of your brain, you're going to find things improving. You're going to find yourself making better decisions. Why? Because you have more access of your brain. You're using more of your brain, especially the high performance states. You have access to everything there, and things that you're not even consciously aware of yet, and you may never be. And that's why you need to be, when you make a decision, if you're in a negative state, then you need to change into a positive state, especially either a high performance state, that's the best state you can get to, or meditative state, which is still good because you're lowering your brain waves. But once you're in those states regularly, and then you practice that and being in those states, then you're going to make far, far better decisions than you do now. You see, negative emotions hold you back from reaching your dreams. So they stop you from getting to where you want to get to. The guilt, the anger, the sadness, the fear, they all stop you from getting to where you want to get to. Yeah, they limit you big time so that you're only using a small part of your brain. And therefore, you don't think that you can actually get to where you want to get to in life. So that is what I wanted to show you. This is the reason why you want to make sure that you get into a high performance state or meditative state, then make the decisions. When you're in a negative state and you make decisions, you're using a small part of your brain which you only have limited responses for, which are all negative. So the action that you're going to take is going to cause you more pain, and you're going to go around in circles. And this is what people do in negativity. They go round and round and round in circles. Why? Because you're making decisions in a negative state. So the first thing you've got to do is self-awareness. You've got to notice, hey, I'm in a negative state. I'm tired. I'm hungry, or I'm fed up, or I'm depressed, or I'm fearful, or whatever. You've got to be able to notice it. Once you've noticed it, then you have to make the decision or the option of getting out of that state before you do anything significant, especially when it comes to decision making. So you've got to stop. Hey, I'm not doing any decision making until I get out of this state. There was someone called Tad James, who's an NLP master trainer, and he was telling a story of a salesperson who was brilliant at sales, #1 salesperson. And he come in one day, and the person was sitting there, and he wasn't on the phone. And Tad went over to him and said, "What's going on here? It's like, why are you not making phone calls? Why are you not selling?" He goes, "I'm just not in the right state. I need to get myself in the right state first, and then I can sell." And Tad was going, "But you always make sales. Come on, what's going on?" At that point, Tad hadn't been trained in NLP and didn't realise that's what he was doing. He always got himself into the right state to do sales. Then he was really good at selling. But whilst he wasn't in that state, he couldn't sell. And that's the thing here. So you've got to make sure that the job or the decision making that you've got to make, are you in the right state to get the result that you want to make? If you're not, then change your state first, and then make sure you make the decision that way in a positive state.